Hi everyone, welcome to the Just a Person podcast, a show that explores life's highs, lows, and in-betweens. I'm Madison, and this week I sat down with Mary Ellen. We talked about her career in radio, her breast cancer diagnosis, and why she decided to share her journey with her audience. Thanks so much for listening, and enjoy the episode. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's been a long time.
It's been a really long time. You and I used to have conversations on the phone when I would call you and you were 5 years old and ask you what happened at kindergarten that day because my daughters were so tight-lipped they wouldn't tell me anything.
Well, we're going to get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But first, I just want to welcome you. Thank you for coming on here.
You're welcome.
So I went to school with your daughters. You have twins. When we went to a small school, I don't necessarily remember this because I was little, but you have told me before that you used to call my house and tell my mom you wanted to talk to me so you could figure out what happened at school that day.
I did it. My daughters are very tight-lipped when it came to talking about what went on at school. And your mom and I also did lunch duty. So we would have daily calls. We'd have a lunch duty update, what happened on the playground. But then often I would say to the girls, what happened at school? How did it go? And they really weren't responsive. Oh, it was fine. It was okay. Then I would call your mom. Finally, your mom said, just talk to Madison and handed the phone. So this is how it would go. Hi, Mads. How are you? Okay. How was school? Good. What happened? What'd you guys do? We learned to count to 20. Oh, okay. What letter are you on? We're on the letter D. Okay. Is there anything I need to know? No. Okay. Bye. That's kind of how it was. You would just update me because my girls they were so tight-lipped. And I just wanted to know, I mean, they would bring their work home and we would talk about what went on, but they just wouldn't tell me. So you would give me the scoop.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of became a weekly thing.
I went to school with your daughters basically until I graduated, and we pretty much did the same thing until then because we carpooled. So when you would bring me home, it's like the same situation.
I know. Isn't that funny? And those rides were so great. Those driving to school, those are the times when you can really have some great conversations with kids. You just really can. And yeah, and then you guys got your license and that was the end of that. We never saw you anymore. So
Right.
how it goes, right?
You're right. I guess now that we've talked about me a little bit, why don't you tell us a little bit about your childhood and growing up?
I grew up in Metro Detroit, went to college for about a year. That didn't really pan out. Went to broadcasting school and then worked in Detroit radio for a long time and then moved to Seattle. Had a great job offer in Seattle. So I didn't have kids at the time. And I thought, why not just do it? Did it, had the girls, and then decided to move back to Michigan. And then I didn't want to move to Metro Detroit. The radio market was just so volatile. Their dad was from the side of the state that we're on in Michigan. And so I decided to move here and here I am. And, but I had a pretty good childhood. I was shy, but I was kind of one of those kids that never shut up, I would never stop talking. I would bombard my mom first thing in the morning. I was always chatty, always talking. In school, not so much, but mostly at home. It was kind of like my mom. She didn't know what to do with me. What do I do with this? Do I put her into acting classes? Do I put her, you know what I mean? I had all this, I wanted to move to New York and be an actress when I was 11 years old. What do you do with that? In the 70s, what do you do with that? There wasn't internet. There weren't all these different things that you could do and all these extracurricular activities within a school and acting and all of that. So I just sort of, started going to theater. She started taking me to the theater to see Broadway productions in Detroit. And then, then I continued that in high school and then kind of fell into radio, really. So, but I had a really good childhood. Yeah. Different growing up in a big city. It's a little bit different than, growing up around here, but yeah, I had a really good childhood and I just think I was the youngest of five. And so I had to do whatever it took to get noticed. And so I'm actually very shy in person. People don't believe that, but the whole radio thing, that's just an act.
A big part of, I guess, being on radio is you do have to show your personality and kind of give a little bit of yourself so that people will want to listen to you and they relate to you. And what we're talking about today is your journey with breast cancer. And I watched a video of you on the news where you were talking about it because you had shared it on the radio with people. So before we talk about your journey there, why was that an important thing for you to do?
Oh gosh. Well, more than anything, I think I just wanted women to know, listen, don't miss a mammogram. I missed a mammogram. I blew it off. COVID hit. I blew it off. I missed a mammogram. I missed two actually. Let's be honest. Maybe I wouldn't have had to have gone through this. They would have caught it, and they caught it very early. So I'm very lucky in that respect, but I missed a mammogram and I just felt like this was such a huge part of my life and it was going to impact time off on the radio and it might impact how I felt, that I should just be vulnerable and just let people know. And it was amazing, the response. And it's unbelievable how many people you meet who have been affected by cancer, whether it be any type of cancer, but how many women I've met that have had breast cancer. It's unbelievable. And once you meet that person, you share this bond and you become part of a club that you don't really want to be a member, but you are, right? So I thought, okay, if this will make one, two, three, four women get a mammogram, or if I can just say, listen, just do this. And I wanted to share it while I was in the moment of it. That's just how I wanted to do it, with the surgery and then the radiation and everything that followed. And, Katie Couric, she has the same diagnosis as I do. And she waited till she was done to share her journey, which is really interesting. But, she's got a bigger platform and can make a bigger difference. But if I can make a difference in one person's life, then it was worth it. So I think it's part of what you do. I mean, radio is smoke and mirrors anyway. Nobody sees what you look like, right? There's many times I've been on the air and I felt well, but I just wanted to be vulnerable. And I thought, why not? Why not let people know how I was feeling? And I also have a column in a local paper. And so I used that to talk about it as well. And it felt liberating. But you want to know the truth. Now, after I've done all that, now I'm ready to really listen to other people and learn. I've said a lot, and this is a great platform for it. And I went to a meeting at Gilda's Club last night and, really, really listened. And that really helped a lot. So yeah, so I think that's why I did it, just to help, just to let women know, don't miss a mammogram. And there is help out there if you need it, and get your mammogram and don't be like me or Katie Couric. And now we both share this experience.
Yeah. Well, part of the reason I wanted to have you on here now is because I do think that when you're going through something versus when you've gotten through it, you do think of it differently. And it's not like you're looking back at it with like rosy glasses. It's obviously not a great experience, but I think you're a bit more realistic about what the situation is sometimes when you're going through it, as opposed to when you've had separation from it.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, she had made a comment in the statement that she had put out that, she really didn't have any issues with radiation right away, that she didn't suffer from fatigue. I mean, my fatigue, it was things like, I'm too tired to drive to the store. The thought of getting in the car and turning the steering wheel, I'm just exhausted because your body's fighting so hard to recreate these cells that the radiation is destroying. But that's really, really true. And there's a lot of emotion that goes with it. And then, yeah, I didn't think, wow, you've opened my eyes to something now, because you're right. When you're in the thick of it, it's different. Looking back on it, I mean, I had an oncologist appointment today. We changed up some medicine and I'll see my surgeon for an ultrasound in November. But, right now I'm in a good place. But when I was in the thick of it, boy, I wrote about it and I talked about it. I was exhausted. A couple of times on my way home from work, I stopped at a rest stop to rest my eyes because I was afraid to drive home.
Yeah, you don't want to fall asleep while you're driving a car. Yeah.
And I wrote about it and I talked about it. So I guess I do kind of have that to look back on and go, kind of like a diary, a personal diary, that, oh, this is kind of how it went for me. But she's got such a big platform to be able to, share that journey. And now she and I, both share something. And what was interesting too is when I was recovering, I read her latest book, which I just loved because she started out in radio. So, and it just spoke it just spoke to me. And so I just thought it was so neat. I, commented on her post on Instagram. I was hoping that she would like it.
Yeah. I also think for her, maybe it's different because she has such a large platform and it's a very personal thing. She probably didn't want everyone like in on this thing while she's going through it. You know what I mean? Because that's a lot to.
That's really true too. Yeah. And I don't, sometimes I don't think about how throwing those things out there maybe affect the girls, but my kids, all they know is me being on the radio. So, and I've tried really hard in the last 3 or 4 years to really pull back and not really talk about them because they are adults now. They're not doing goofy things like they were, where things were funny. And I've tried really hard to, to respect that, because really, I mean, I can't imagine growing up in this day and age and, having to deal with social media and all this other stuff. But then again, here you are. I've known you for a very long time, and you're interviewing me. That's something.
I know. How is that to be on the other end of the interview this time?
What an honor. This is really cool.
All right. So I want to take it back to your diagnosis. How long ago was that?
March 24th.
Of 2022?
Yes. I had just been cast in a play. I started doing theater. I did theater, but then COVID hit. So I went back, I auditioned for this play, and I got the role that I wanted. All right. It was a really intense play about women that go to the Vietnam War and serve. And so I had, my mammogram ultrasound. They say the radiologist wants to talk to you. When they pull you back to the radiologist, something's not good. And he was showing me the scans, and my main concern was, you need to let me know if I need to bail out of this play because a lot of people are depending on me. And rehearsal started, we were like blocking the whole play and all of this. And so he said, it looks like a malignancy. A biopsy will confirm. So they did a biopsy 2 days later, and then I got the phone call. I wasn't on the air, but I was on the air actually when I got the phone call. But I mean, I just put a song on and took the phone call and then did what I had to do. Right. I knew that it was cancer, but when you still get that phone call, like Katie Couric talks about, she was in her office, she was she was around a bunch of people when this happened. And we were in the middle of an auction, actually. So there were people answering the phones, there were people on the air, there were people running credit cards. There was all this stuff going on. I'm on the phone with the nurse from the doctor's office saying it's cancer. Your whole world stops. Your world stops, but the world keeps going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's such a weird thing. Like when something big happens to you, but the world just keeps going on. It's very strange.
Yeah, you just stop in your tracks, and then there's just so much that then and I think a lot of times people think you have surgery and that's the end of it, and sometimes surgery is just the beginning of treatment. I will be in treatment for 10 years, some form of treatment. So and I will be checked, and so this is not something that just goes away. But I think I'm very, very fortunate. 20 years ago, when my mom had it, they didn't have the testing. You automatically had chemotherapy, whether you would benefit from it or not. They didn't know. I was able to take a test to say you will not benefit from chemotherapy. You don't need it, and thank goodness. The whole world would have changed if that would have been a completely different recovery process.
So did you know before your surgery that you would then have to do radiation, or is that something you find out later?
I didn't know anything until after they had removed the tumor and then did all the testing. They send it off. They do all the testing and lymph nodes too. My lymph nodes were. I was very fortunate there. And then 2 weeks off for the surgery, and I kind of had a real quiet summer. I did get one beach day in, but I never went swimming once this summer. And I love the beach and I love to swim. That. Yeah, I did not. As the boyfriend said, I think a summer out of the sun will do you good.
Yeah,
I think it did,
yeah, maybe take a little
I
break.
love the beach and stuff. So, I did get to the beach one day though, and then the radiation started, and then that makes you tired, and you want to stay healthy, and then that wrapped up, and now here we are, and it goes by. It goes by so fast, and then the next thing you know, it's October and you're like, oh my gosh. And yeah, it just, I don't know. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about people, Madison, and people only know what they know, and you can't fault them if they don't know about what you might be going through, right? people are going to act the way that they're going to act. Some people embrace a situation like this. Some people reach out. Some people have a tendency to maybe back away. You can't fault people for that. People act differently for different things. I will say this though, for me, a cancer patient already feels like a burden because people say, what's the one thing you want people to know? A cancer patient already feels like a burden to their caregiver, to their family. They're not going to ask for help. So instead, just drop off a dinner. just do it. Drop off some ice cream, a cake, whatever. Just do it because they're not going to ask because they already feel like a burden.
Is it kind of like you feel like a burden, and so then by asking for help, it makes you feel like a patient and not like a person? You feel
Yeah,
like you have to be helped, you can't do it yourself.
right. Yeah, yeah, like you're helpless, and nobody wants to feel that way, right? But yeah, it's just one of those things. The world keeps moving, things keep spinning, right? And your whole world stops, and then you have to play catch up. Well, wait a minute, it's still March. You, I'm still trying to come to terms with the fact that you told me I had breast cancer, but it's October now. I have to catch up in October because my whole world stopped.
How long did that take to like sink in for you?
Oh, geez. Yeah, it's sunk in. I think I only cried once. If I broke down, it was more about being in pain or just being tired or something like that. Because all you have to do is spend 2 minutes in a waiting room of an oncology waiting room to know that someone has it. I mean, all you have to do is be in an elevator when they bring in a kid that's coming down for chemo or radiation. I mean, and it could, mine was stage 1A. They caught it very, very, very early. So very, very lucky. So get your mammogram. If I would have waited another year, who knows?
When you were going through radiation and you were so exhausted, was there anything that helped, or was it just the kind of thing you have to just get through?
Gosh, I slept a lot. I would watch really cheesy TV, like episodes of My So-Called Life from the 90s. Just like, and people laugh at that, but that's kind of, it's my thing. It's how I check out. I started watching The Real Housewives of Orange County. I know it sounds so silly, but it was just because I write and I read news and I do news. So you're doing news. The morning show, it's a music radio station, but we do news and stuff, and so you're constantly in that news cycle. So I would just do things like that. I just took care of myself. I slept when I needed to. I didn't do a lot of hanging out. I did try to walk every day, drank a lot of water, watched what I ate, but slept a lot. I mean, that was really the only thing that helped. Just kind of like just being watching a lot of TV, and I color. I started doing that, gosh, before the girls were born as a way to just kind of relax. But I colored and read books, and that's about it. Yeah, I think I went like a whole month without seeing my kids because I was too tired. Honestly, by the time Friday rolled around after, working all week, and then, yeah, it's just, okay, no, I'm sleeping all weekend. So that's kind of how it went. So I'm looking forward to getting out and enjoying the upcoming holidays and all that stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be the kind of thing that kind of becomes your job.
Oh, it is.
And so you can't really do anything else. And now you can get back out and do things that you want to do.
My mind always went to what if this would have happened when I had kids in school? How would I have managed it, right? What if, I mean, this happened when I'm an empty nester, my kids are grown and out of that, for me, I'm a single woman. And so it would have been very difficult with treatment and getting things paid for and making appointments and keeping track of appointments and knowing where you need to be and staying healthy and taking care of your family. And, a lot. But we do it, we get it done. And, we just move on to the next thing.
What are some, you've already said a few ways. I guess your big one is just looking at things from other people's perspective more, but are there any other big things you think you've learned or ways you've kind of changed your perspective?
I mean, I know there's all different types of breast cancer. Every person's genetic makeup is different, so every person responds differently to treatment. That gave me a lot more empathy and a lot more understanding. Oh, it's just, and I don't know why. when people want to share their cancer story with you, man, they want to tell you everything. Sometimes people don't have a filter. I learned that people don't have a filter, but I just think that people just know what they know, and all we can do is educate people on how to be a little bit more empathetic when somebody's going through a health crisis. And I also learned that just because somebody may look well doesn't mean they feel well, right? Makeup can do amazing things. Just because somebody is out at their kids' game doesn't mean, or watching their kids' game doesn't mean that they're not feeling well from the treatment that they're in. That was, I learned that. That was an eye opener, and that women are strong. I mean, we're strong. We have to be strong, but boy, I mean, we're raising our families. We're doing all this stuff, and usually we always put ourselves last. And I think something like this makes you put yourself first. And if you're not used to that, it's hard. But you learn. It's hard. You have to learn to say no. Like I went to one of my boyfriend's gigs. He's a musician, and I stayed for one set. And I said, I'm going to go home and go to bed. I can't stay up till 1 a.m. I'm 59 years old. My disco days are over. So that was an eye opener for me, learning how to take care of myself. I thought I took care of myself pretty well. I didn't. So, yeah, you learn a lot in an experience like this. That's for sure.
What is your advice for, you can do an either or here, but women that have been recently diagnosed with breast cancer, and also for, people that do have families, maybe younger kids, whatever, just families going through it as well?
Oh gosh, one day at a time, and they know that, 1 minute at a time. Emotions are up and down, minute by minute. Just offer each other support, and don't sweat the small stuff. But they learn that every experience is different. Reach out to your church community and your friends and your family. Don't worry about things like bills and things like that. Ask for help. The hardest thing in the world is asking for help. And the caregiver needs support too. That's huge, Madison. That's huge. The caregiver, they're in a situation where sometimes they're walking on eggshells. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They're trying to take care of you, and then their needs go out the door. So who's there to support them? It's all about the cancer patient. Who's there to support them, especially with a child? The parents need so much support and faith. I have faith, my rosary's gotten a lot of use. It's gotten a lot of use, and it's in my purse. I take it with wherever I go. And so, for me, and just I do have friends that I do have a friend that did have a son who had a brain tumor, a cancerous brain tumor. He's in remission now, but the biggest thing was that the whole family needs that support system. And I do want to mention there are places out there. There's Bluebird Cancer Retreats, and they have several ways to help families and caregivers. You go away for a week and you come back renewed. There's there's Gilda's Club. There's all sorts of different places that offer support. So I guess don't forget to check up on that person too, just because they may have gone through treatment and whatnot. You should still check up on them too. That's what I would say. I mean, it's hard to give people advice because they're in it. They know. You do what works for you.
Well, thank you for being on here. This is going out obviously in October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So everyone, take care of yourself.
Yeah, and get your mammogram. Yeah, I forget what age you have to start getting them. I don't know. I mean, you guys are young. I don't know. Get your mammogram. Don't blow it off. And there's places where you can, if you're underinsured, you don't have insurance. There's places that you can go to. Google is your friend. Your mom get a kick out of that. She always used to laugh at me because all I ever did was Google.
Hey, not everybody does it now, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. See, I was a pioneer.
Right.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Thanks so much again to Mary Ellen for being on the show today. If you have a story you want to personally share on the show, want to be read on air, or a topic you'd like to see discussed, find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at JustAPersonPod, or send us an email at justapersonpod@gmail.com. We'll see you next Monday with another new episode.